The next table to add is the course table. And if I look at that, it has, the one new thing it has is an identity. We haven't done that yet, but it has a primary key, multiple columns, and one default value. So what that looks like when we code it up is we still create the table, give it the name course, and then here's the one with an identity in it. It has the column name and the data type, and then just type in the keyword identity right there between the data type and the not null. And then the other values are the way that we've seen them before, where we simply put their column name, the data type, and that they're not null. The default value is credits, tiny int, and after the not null, we put the keyword default and the value 4, and then the constraint. We execute this query, and it works. So now that it works, we're going to move it to our text file. The next table to be done is the section table. Notice it has an identity value, a primary key, a couple foreign keys, a couple null values, and some default values. What that looks like in the code is all of the columns, section number, int, has this identity and is not null. Instructor, char9, and has a null value. Course is an int and not null. Semester is char2 and not null. And this one has the constraint, right? This is the constraint to check to make sure that semester is in SP, SU, or FA. Now the year is a little bit different. It's a small int and not null, but the constraint is different. So now we're not checking that it's in certain values, we're actually checking for a range. And to do that, you want to put a complete comparison on the left with an and sign between and a comparison on the right. So here we want to make sure that year is greater than 1900 and year is less than 2080. The building is the character 3 not null, room small int null. And then we put our constraints. So here we have the primary key constraint set on the section number, and then the foreign key constraints for both the instructor and the course columns. Then we execute that command. Oh, and look, we made an error. Here we have an error in building, and notice it says that I don't have a data type. I do have a data type. What I have is an extra comma here. So let me get rid of that comma, and I see we're going to have one here as well. So I get rid of that column, and it thinks I'm done with that column, and execute it again. And there we go. It worked that time. So now we'll copy this corrected version into the text file.
Registration is a small table, only has 3 columns, but it has lots of constraints. Primary key, 2 foreign keys, and a check. So there's the 3 columns, and put a constraint, a check constraint on that column to make sure the grades were all in where they needed to be, and primary key and 2 foreign key constraints. And there's the registration table. The prerequisite has 2 columns, both of which are primary key and a foreign key. So both the columns are listed, and then the constraint for the primary key and the 2 foreign key constraints are added. And we execute that. And that's the end of all of our tables.